The Hendon Hooker experiment is over for the Detroit Lions. They have now seen him through multiple training camps, multiple offensive systems, and several preseason games, and it is very clear that they do not trust him. Everything the Detroit Lions have done over the last 4 to 6 months tells you everything you need to know about Hendon Hooker. Whether it be signing Teddy Bridgewater before the playoffs just so that Hendon Hooker wouldn't have to play in that game, whether it be signing Kyle Allen this free agency to push Hendon Hooker knowing he wasn't ready for the job, or whether it be this last preseason game where you're trailing by several scores going into the second half and you allow your starting quarterback, or who is supposed to be your starting quarterback for that half, you allow him to throw just 6 passes in 2 entire quarters of football. In 30 minutes, he throws 6 passes and gets sacked twice. Everything the Detroit Lions are doing screams that they do not trust Hendon Hooker, and why would they? He's a 27-year-old quarterback. He's never played true NFL snaps or any real NFL experience, and while he's exiting his physical prime, mentally he is not prepared to be a starter or even a backup in the NFL at the highest level. Now, with that being said, Hendon Hooker was fantastic at college. He was one of the best college quarterbacks in his draft class, throwing for over 30 touchdowns to just 3 interceptions. And in his 2 years at Tennessee, he was phenomenal. 435 completions on 630 attempts, throwing 69% completion, 6,000 yards and 58 touchdowns to just 5 interceptions. On top of that, he rushed for over 270 times for over 1,000 yards and 10 more touchdowns on the ground. He finished the 2022 college football season as the Offensive Player of the Year in the SEC, as well as finishing 5th in Heisman voting. When he suffered his ACL tear in November of 2022, he was the favorite for the Heisman Trophy after leading Tennessee to massive wins over rival Alabama and having them in position to make the 4-team college football playoff for the first time in team history. After his fantastic college career, Hendon Hooker went to the NFL. He was done, he was out of eligibility, and being one of the best quarterbacks in college football, even despite the injury, meant that he was going to go pretty high. There was going to be a team to take a chance on him, and all throughout the draft cycle, it was, okay, Hendon Hooker's going to take a year to get back, but this kid is phenomenal, right? He's a little bit older, but he throws the ball very well. He can run the ball really well. When he comes back from the injury, he's going to be the guy for an NFL team. Some people even went as far as to say that he was an easy first-round selection for an NFL team, and that if they passed, they would regret the decision for years to come. Hendon Hooker did not go in the first round. Hendon Hooker did not go in the second round of the NFL draft. He didn't even go until the late stages of the 3rd round of the draft, at 68th overall, where the Detroit Lions traded up to get their quarterback. Now, when this trade was made, everybody thought it was really exciting. Everybody said, okay, that is a fantastic pick by the Detroit Lions. They may have screwed up the first day, they may have screwed up the second round, but they got their quarterback of the future. Excellent value in the 3rd round, excellent player for what they need, and a player that can take over for Jared Goff when his contract expires at the end of 2025. That, of course, has not come true. Hendon Hooker's redshirt season was exactly that. His rookie year did not play. He was recovering from the injury, returned to practice around week 13 to 14 of the NFL season, got some good reps in, was able to play, but obviously wasn't going to play over Jared Goff with limited training camp and limited practice experience going into the final weeks of the season. And of course, he was always going to redshirt that year, right? It was very similar to Jameson Williams saying, hey, you're just done. You're not playing this year. You're recovering this year. Hendon Hooker's entire role in 2023 as a rookie was to recover from the ACL, get back to where he was at Tennessee, and just get back to the player that he could be and that he was as a collegiate athlete. Unfortunately, that never really seemed to come true. Going into the next season, everybody was really excited to see Hendon Hooker. Everybody was excited to see the deep ball throws. Everybody was excited to see the athleticism. Everybody was excited to see the Heisman frontrunner that he was. And that unfortunately didn't really come true either. His second year in the preseason, he threw for 29 of 44, not an awful statistic, threw for 300 yards across 3 games, 1 touchdown and 1 interception, while rushing for 138 yards and a rushing touchdown. statistically, Hendon Hooker wasn't horrible last preseason. Obviously, the touchdowns are certainly a concern. Having the same amount of touchdowns as interceptions isn't great, but the rushing upside was there. He showed the ability to scramble, to escape the pocket, and to play some good football there. And he did make a couple nice throws. He was able to move around, in the backfield. He was able to extend plays and create more than Jared Goff really has shown. And there was a lot of people that even exiting the preseason said, yeah, he was a little rough, but it was his first organized football in several seasons. It was his first opportunity to play at the NFL level, and the talent surrounding him wasn't phenomenal, right? The backups in the preseason aren't guys that he's going to be throwing to very often, and the timing might have been off, and his protection wasn't very good, and there was a lot of valid excuses for why Hendon Hooker wasn't the player that they expected to see from Tennessee. He went into the regular season as the primary backup, played a couple of games, got into 3 football contests last season where he threw 9 passes, completed 6 for, I believe, 50, 60 yards, 3 first downs, but did take a sack. And overall, I think a lot of people exited Hendon Hooker's sophomore season saying, okay, not bad, right? Obviously, he took a big step forward from where he was as a rookie. The expectations going into this year are really, really high. We expect Hendon Hooker to be great. And then the playoffs rolled around. And despite Hendon Hooker being the primary backup all year, practicing with the second team all year, learning the system all year, getting ready for the playoffs and getting ready for that backup role and getting ready for his opportunity all year, the Detroit Lions opted to sign Teddy Bridgewater, a veteran player who had never played or had not played since the previous offseason, had not played professional football in 6, 8, even 12 months at that point. And they signed him to be the backup quarterback. They signed him to come in and play over Hendon Hooker, despite not being with the team all year, despite not being really likely in NFL shape, not studying or working with the playbook for the entire year. And even still, they decided to sign him off the couch entirely cold with a week's preparation to prepare him for the playoff game. And Teddy Bridgewater ended up playing. Teddy Bridgewater was in for 2 or 3 plays when Jared Goff got hit in the head, and they actually scored a touchdown off of a reverse play, started with Teddy Bridgewater, the ball in his hands. But the fact that they wanted to bring in Teddy Bridgewater, the fact that they felt the need to bring a player off the couch who had not played professional football in almost a calendar year, had not studied the Lions playbook in almost a calendar year, was significantly older than Hendon Hooker, but they still trusted him more than the guy that had been in the building for the last 2 years. That speaks volumes for Hendon Hooker. Then in the offseason, when Teddy Bridgewater officially retired again, they brought in Kyle Allen, a quarterback that has played over a season's worth of snaps in the NFL, has played okay, has won some NFL games, has lost quite a few more, and a guy that I think a lot of people looked at and said, that's a camp body, that is a guy to push Hendon Hooker to be a better quarterback too. And throughout training camp, he's pushed Hendon Hooker down to be quarterback 3. And even during the preseason game, he was significantly better than Hendon Hooker was. The timing was better, the throws were better, he was more accurate, he was more poised, and he looked like a significantly better quarterback than Hendon Hooker did. Now, did he look great? No, the 2 interceptions weren't great. The first one that almost went for 6 was a really poor throw. The second one, he just kind of threw it up. Kyle Allen just gave Tesla a chance, overthrew it a little bit. Tesla got knocked off his route. It was intercepted in the end zone. Those types of things happen. I don't hold that one against him too much. But outside of that, he still went 9 for 14. He still threw for 84 yards, still orchestrated a touchdown drive in the preseason with the backups. And even though the offense didn't look great by any means, it looked better. It looked feasible under Kyle Allen. And then in the second half, when Hendon Hooker came in, they went 3 for 6, 18 yards and 2 sacks. He didn't throw a touchdown. He did throw an interception, and overall was really, really poor. The offense completely stagnated. I'm not sure if they made it across midfield in the second half with Hendon Hooker. And again, there are just telling signs that keep showing up, right? Just like the playoff thing, just like signing a veteran quarterback in free agency. How do you have a third-year quarterback under a rookie contract that you traded up in the 3rd round for, and you let him throw 6 passes, really 8 passes if you include the 2 plays he took a sack on? You give him 8 opportunities to throw the football in the second half. The run game was not working, by the way. It's not like, oh, the run game was working, so Hendon Hooker didn't have to throw. They had to throw. They were down by 2, 3, 4 scores at certain points throughout the second half. They never led in the second half, never even scored a point in the second half. and they didn't let Hendon Hooker throw the ball. They gave him 8 opportunities, none of which looked very good, by the way. The deep ball to Dominic Lovett that got interception was a nice throw, I will say. It was not his fault that it got interception. It was not a poor throw by any means. But again, the trust from Hendon Hooker is not there. I don't know if it's a practice thing. I don't know if it's a work ethic thing. I don't know if they just know that he is out as the quarterback, but the experiment is over. The Lions know what they have in Hendon Hooker, and it is not a starting quarterback. It is not a backup quarterback. It is maybe a third string player at most, or a cheap backup option when one really isn't needed. Hendon Hooker's future with the Detroit Lions and Hendon Hooker's future in the NFL is bleak. He is 27 years old. That is the same age as Lamar Jackson. That is the same age as Sam Darnold. That is the same age as Joe Burrow. That is the same age as Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson and, several other players. Jalen Hurts will turn 27 this season. So many players have been in the NFL for 3, 4, 5, 6 years and are turning 27. They have Super Bowl experience. They have playoff experience. They have starting experience. They have everything you want in a quarterback at that age. And Hendon Hooker doesn't have that. At 27 years old, Hendon Hooker has thrown 9 passes in garbage time of NFL games. Even then, he hasn't looked particularly great, even in the garbage time against the backups in the regular season. The Lions very clearly don't trust him as a backup option. They very clearly don't want him to see the field in the regular season, and he's only under contract for another season after this one. He is not the future of Detroit. He is not the future quarterback. He is not taking anything from Jared Goff, and at this point, I'm not sure he gets a second contract with Detroit. His practice reps have not been incredible. He's been practicing with the third team, rotating with the second team here and there throughout training camp, but the fact that your third-year quarterback, your third-year, third-round quarterback, a top 70 pick in the draft, can't even be your backup consistently and can't even be trusted to hold the clipboard and come in for a few plays or to finish out a game should speak volumes to what the Detroit Lions believe about Hendon Hooker as a quarterback. He may have been very talented at Tennessee. He may be a very good quarterback at the college level. But unfortunately, with his age, with his injury never really seeming to heal properly, and just not seeing the game at the NFL level, it's too fast for him. He isn't very accurate in the NFL when the guys he's throwing to, and you could see it. The wide receivers that they were throwing to were very similar from the first half to the second half. They both were throwing to Dominic Lovett. They were both throwing to Isaac Tesla. They were both throwing to the same receiving core that Kyle Allen had in the first half. Hendon Hooker was throwing to in the second half, and Kyle Allen looked significantly better. The timing was better. The throws were better. They were more accurate. They were more, properly placed. They gave their wide receivers a chance to make a play. And Hendon Hooker, I'm not sure you could point to a single throw last night, other than maybe, ironically, the deep ball that got intercepted, and say that was a great throw. Say that set his wide receivers up in a good position. You go back to last season, you watch any of the preseason highlights of Hendon Hooker, there's the one run versus the Giants where he trucked a defender and ran the football. And outside of that, there aren't any throwing highlights. There aren't any fantastic throws. And you go back to, last Thursday, there weren't any fantastic throws. There weren't any great plays to be made because I just don't think Hendon Hooker is ready to be an NFL quarterback. And for a 27-year-old in year 3 of an NFL system to not be ready should absolutely speak volumes to the stages that the Detroit Lions are in right now. So with that being said, yes, I think the Hendon Hooker experiment is over. I think Kyle Allen will be quarterback 2 going into the season. I think Hendon Hooker may even get cut going into the NFL season. The Detroit Lions need a reliable backup, somebody that they can absolutely trust to come into the game and win a game, come into the game for a couple of plays, for a couple of drives, and keep the ship from sinking until Jared Goff returns. And I don't think they trust Hendon Hooker to do that. I don't think they trust Hendon Hooker to get a first down when it is called for, let alone lead a comeback, let alone, lead a team over the finish line if they are already winning. I don't think they trust Hendon Hooker not to sink that boat if he is put in command of it. And with that being said, I just don't think Hendon Hooker is going to be in Detroit for much longer. But that is a hot take. I'm sure there are going to be a lot of people that disagree, a lot of people that feel Hendon Hooker needs another chance to prove himself, and he's going to get it. He's going to start the preseason game against the Texans this weekend. He's going to be the primary starter. He's going to get all of the same weapons and all of the same offensive linemen that Kyle Allen had. And if he doesn't go 9 for 14 for 80 plus yards and not throw 2 interceptions, I think you can look at it and say, okay, maybe he's not the guy, right? If he gets 6, 7 pass attempts in an entire first half of football, that's not good. That's a really poor indicator of where he's at. So he's going to get another chance. He's going to get a third chance in week 2. He's going to get a fourth chance in week 3. He is going to get plenty of opportunities to right the ship. He's going to get plenty of opportunities to prove me wrong and several other fans wrong, and even the coaching staff wrong. But at this point, they don't trust Hendon Hooker to get the job done. And if anything, I think if the NFL season started today, Hendon Hooker would be cut. Hendon Hooker would be a free agent. Somebody would certainly pick him up, but I don't think he has a future in the NFL. And I don't think he has a future with the Detroit Lions. But with all that being said, let me know your opinions down in the comments below. Do you think Hendon Hooker still has what it takes? Do you still believe that Hendon Hooker could develop? I'd love to hear your opinions down in the comments below. But with all of that being said, that's all I got for you guys right now. Thank you all so much for watching. And until next time, and as always, go Lions.